Wow, your iPhone X is so beautiful. I would want to buy one. But I read news that iPhone stocks were always below expectations. Why did Apple Inc. want to keep fewer inventories? Doesn't it want to make more money?
Oh, I read that piece of news too. That is because of its supplier. Its OLED screens are supplied by Samsung, whose productive capacity is inadequate. What is more, Apple's face recognition system is provided by an Australian company, but their products have a low output. It is the suppliers who make Apple Inc. less productive.
The suppliers have so great influence on Apple Inc.
Sure, Apple Inc. has global supply chains. I remember that it has 13 assembly plants and 1,056 suppliers in the world.
It must be very difficult for Apple Inc. to manage so many suppliers.
Supply chain integrates Apple Inc. and its suppliers. It connects product design and production to make sure the right time supply. At the same time, the operation has to ensure the profits of Apple Inc. It must be very difficult, I think.
Wow, how efficient SCM is. Let's ask our teacher to explain it.
Love life, love e-commerce. Welcome to this e-commerce course. The topic of this lecture is an overview of supply chain management. In this section, I will introduce the concept, the characteristics, the history of supply chain, and also the concept, the architecture, and importance of supply chain management. In the end, I will explain the relationship between supply chain management and logistics as well. First, let's see how to understand the supply chain. The supply chain involves the process of moving goods from the providers of raw materials to finished products for the end customers. Supply chain organizers use logistical methods to manage the entire process. As we can see from the definition, supply chain includes different activities, entities, information, and resources. There is a focal enterprise, and in most cases, the supply chain is constructed by the focal enterprise. The other companies in the chain contribute a step in the process and gains value from their contribution. There are three major flows in any supply chain: product flow, financial flow, and the information flow. The product flow includes the movement of goods from a supplier to a customer, as well as any customer returns. The financial flow consists of credit terms, payment schedules, and the title ownership arrangements. The information flow involves product fact sheet, transmitting orders, schedules, and updating the status of delivery. All the different tiers in the chain construct networks. With increased information visibility and relevant operational knowledge and data exchange, integrated supply chain partners can be more responsive to volatile demand. Generally, supply chain has the characteristics of integrity, dynamic, complexity, intersection, and value added. That is to say, the enterprises in a supply chain operate as a whole, and they can choose their partners according to their requirements. So the supply chain is dynamic and complicated. A supply chain has a series of value-creating processes spanning over entire chain in order to provide added value to the end consumer. At each stage, there are physical flows relating to production, distribution, while at each stage, there is some addition of value to the products or services. The history of supply chain management has evolved from an initial focus on improving relatively simple, labor-intensive process to the present-day engineering and managing of complex global networks. In the 1980s, the most important trend for logistics was it had begun to get tremendous recognition in industry as being very important and very complex. Company managers became aware of logistics as an area where they had the opportunity to significantly improve. The logistics boom was fueled further in the 1990s by the emergence of enterprise resource planning systems. Most large companies had installed ERP systems. This change to ERP system was a tremendous improvement in data availability and accuracy. The new ERP software also dramatically increased recognition of the need for better planning and integration among logistics components. The result was a new generation of SCM. The widespread recognition of the term supply chain has come primarily as a result of the globalization of manufacturing since the mid-1990s. There has been increasing trend of diverse demand and the multiple delivery requirements. These changes affected the SCM and gave birth to an integrated approach to SCM, where the demand and requirements of the customers and the roles of suppliers were accorded increased importance. Supply chain management is the broad range of activities required to plan, control, and execute a product's flow from materials to production to distribution in the most economical way possible. SCM includes the integrated planning and execution of process required to optimize the flow of materials, information, and capital. SCM also provides a major advantage for companies by increasing efficiency and decreasing operating costs. SCM enables companies to better manage demand, carry the right amount of inventory, deal with disruptions, keep costs to a minimum, and meet customer demand in the most effective way possible. The most basic version of a supply chain includes a focal company, its suppliers, and the customers of that company. The chain could look like this: raw material producer, supplier, focal manufacturer, distributor, retailer, and retailer's customers. The totality of these organizations forms an integrated web rather than a linear chain, gives insight into why supply chain management is so complex. SCM extends upstream to supplier management and downstream to customer relationship management. SCM has significant impacts on both the enterprise and the consumer. Supply chain management activities can improve customer service. They have the ability to ensure customer satisfaction by making certain the necessary products are available at the correct location at the right time. SCM also provides a major advantage for companies by decreasing operating costs. SCM activities can reduce the cost of purchasing, production, and the total supply chain. Lowering costs improves a company's financial position by increasing profit and cash flow. Furthermore, following supply chain management best practices can minimize overuse of large fixed assets, such as warehouses and vehicles. The terms supply chain management and logistics are often confused. Just like we mentioned in previous lectures, logistics is just a part of supply chain management. It focuses on moving a product or material in the most efficient way so it arrives at the right place at the right time. It manages activities such as packaging, transportation, distribution, warehousing, and delivery. In contrast, SCM involves a more expansive range of activities, such as strategic sourcing of raw materials, procuring the best prices on goods and materials, and coordinating supply chain visibility efforts across the supply chain network of partners, to name just a few. The increasingly global nature of today's supply chains and the rise of e-commerce, with its focus on nearly instant small deliveries straight to consumers, are posing challenges, particularly in the area of logistics and demand planning. A number of strategies, such as lean manufacturing and newer approaches, such as demand-driven material requirements planning, may prove helpful. In near future, there will be valuable insights to be gained by systematically studying the supply chain and logistics performance of companies across multiple industries and countries, such as healthcare logistics. Okay, that's all. Thank you for listening.